Katie.
And I'm Sam.
We're at Halfling Ever After. Today we're going to talk about nervines. Nervines are herbs that support the nervous system. Our first herb is catnip. Catnip is great for kids. That rattling sound in the background is our baby happily playing, and he is teething, and catnip is good for teething. It's gentle enough for babies and kids. You give it in small doses. You can make the tea and then use a dropper for babies. And you can find information about dosing based on weight and age. Rosemary Gladstar does a nice job of breaking that down in her books.
You can also dry it, give it to your cats for entertainment.
But
I think it simulates their pheromones.
Yes.
So they go, ooh, you smell sexy.
Catnip is a digestive aid, so you can take the tea or the tincture to support your digestive system if you are having gas or indigestion. Catnip actually doesn't taste awesome. It has a bitter taste to it, so a lot of times people will add it to other better tasting herbs, or you can take it as a tincture. If an herb doesn't taste great, a lot of times tincturing it is the way to go.
It smells nice though.
And it grows pretty prolifically.
Yeah, it spreads like crazy. All the mints do. They spread by root and by seed quite happily. I think they say, though, if you want to keep it true to form, you don't want the seedlings so much.
I'm gonna get that baby. So.
It is easy to grow. All of the mints are easy to grow. They spread by underground. I can't remember if it's by rhizome or stolon, but they sure shoot out runners like crazy. They also reproduce quite handily by seed, though you're not going to get true to form characteristics because they crossbreed very easily with other mints. And if you're going to have much in your garden, you probably have several different kinds of mint. They all crossbreed. So the seedlings are going to be mixed, and especially if you're doing something with the medicinal qualities, you probably want to keep it pure unless you're experimenting. They should also probably be kept in a some sort of a confinement system. Like you can grow them in a barrel. You just sink a 55-gallon barrel in the ground and fill it with soil. That way they can't shoot out their tentacles and take over the rest of the garden. Because they will.
Catnip promotes sweating, so it's good for reducing fevers. And to do that, you can take the tea or the enema, which I have not had the opportunity to try.
Well, you've had the opportunity, you just...
I refused the opportunity when it was offered to me. You don't really eat catnip. It's one of those herbs I picked that is not a food, except for cats. So I guess it works there.
And you can eat the cat, when worse comes to worse.
Ta-da.
Before you eat the children, eat the cat.
Always. The more you know.
Boom, boom, boom.
It's calming. Calming, works on teething, good for babies. Next, we're going to talk about oats. Lots of great things can be done if you have oats. All parts of the oat plant can be used, can be eaten, it can be drunk, it can be tinctured, it can be applied to your skin as a poultice or through a bath for irritated skin.
I've even read that they use the oat hulls to polish the inside of motors. I think it's either Mercedes-Benz or BMW. Some fancy car was used the oat hulls. Most oats have a really tough hull on them, and that you have to knock off, and that's kind of tricky because you don't want to eat the hull because it's nasty. On the other hand, it's great fiber. A lot to chew though. So to eat the oats, you have to knock off the hull. Some people say that it can be done easily on your own. Extreme flailing, running it through the grain mill with a little rubber gasket thing on one of the grinders to kind of rub off the hulls. I haven't tried any of that yet. Instead, I grew, when I first started trying to grow oats, hull-less of variety, and that it just threshes out the groats. That's the oat seed, a groat, with just normal threshing, and it seemed to work reasonably well. If you want oatmeal, the usual oatmeal is steamed and then squished with rollers. The rollers squish it into the little flat oats that you see in your oatmeal. It's probably a lot easier to grind them up, and then you have the ground oatmeal like in the McCann's can of porridge that it takes a little longer to cook, and it's chewier, but easier to do. You need less technology to do it. If you are cutting your oats or rolling your oats, you want to do small batches at a time. If they sit around for too long, the air will make the oils inside rancid, and it'll taste or smell, or both, like crayons, which is kind of less pleasant, and I wouldn't be surprised if the nutritional quality was somewhat suffering from that sort of oxidization. Easy to grow, very easy to grow. It's fairly quick to make the crop. In Montana, we have a very short growing season compared to a lot of places in the country, but oats grow easily here. It's what fed the nation of Scotland, more or less. They don't have much of a growing season there either, and they have oats coming out of their ears. It's a fairly tall grain, and sow it just like another grain, not too deep in the soil, but covering the soil over a little bit. You can broadcast it, just flick it out like you see in the medieval pictures, and then rake it in. You could, if you've got a seed planter, you go down the row and plant it. I used a hoe, do a hoe row, and then sprinkle it and hoe it over. I've heard that birds will flock to the hull-less oats, especially because they're nice and tasty and easy. I didn't have a problem with birds in the oats, though. I had problems with running out of time. It takes a little bit longer to harvest than one might think. It's slow going.
The stalk is medicinal. You can use it in teas, oat straw. But the best part are the green milky oats, which means you need to harvest them when they are squirting this white milky substance. So there's
you pick the groat off of the stem, and you squish it with your finger, and if it kind of pops and it looks like milk, then it's at the milky stage. They don't quite ripen at the same time, but I think the top oats on the panicle is kind of like bleh, and the top ones mature more rapidly than the bottom ones, if I remember correctly. I could be mistaken. You'll want to experiment and make sure that all of the oats you're harvesting are milky if you want milky oats. It's more variable in the wild oats. We tried harvesting wild oats. They are wild. But still, there is some variation in even the domestic tame oats. Once it gets to the doughy stage, it's no longer milky, and it'll be kind of squishy, gummy. It'll be still white, but not like milk. It'll be more like dough. Hence the term, doughy stage, milky stage.
And harvesting those wild milky oats is crazy. When you're drying them, they're alive, and they creep around and make this Really creepy noise.
Each groat has on its hull a little leg. It looks like a grasshopper leg, kind of. And that's what they do. They wiggle around and they use that to kind of spread out on the ground normally. And they also use it to burrow into the soil. So don't sleep under wild oats. You might find little parasites in your skin.
Oats are not just good for your nerves, they're also good for your heart.
High protein. As far as grains go, it's about the highest protein you can get.
And it's rich in silica, calcium, chromium, magnesium, B vitamins, which tells you why it's good for your nervous system. What oats do is they are good for the myelin sheath, which is what wraps around and protects some of your nerve cells. The protection around the nerves is supported. For skin conditions, anytime that your skin is itchy and irritated, you can use oats topically.
Do you just like make oatmeal
Right.
and smear it on?
Yeah. What you're essentially doing is you're making an infusion with the oatmeal. You can also use the oats in the bag, and then you can use the bag that has the oats to kind of scrub the skin. For those with celiac disease, you can still use oats, but you have to decoct them and then wait for the milky part to kind of settle, and then you'd have to strain just the clear liquid. Same with the tincture. You might want to try some other things first.
Some people with gluten intolerance or sensitivity, oats are sometimes okay for them because the oat gluten is different than wheat gluten. Sometimes it's just as bad, sometimes it's not as bad. It depends on the person. Everybody is different.
I use oats a lot in conjunction with other herbs for insomnia or anxiety, for the liver, for digestion. It's a nice addition to other formulas. Our final nervine is California Poppy, which contains no opium. I'm sorry. It's a mild, non-addictive sedative. Very gentle. It calms nervous stress and excitability. So if your child cannot sleep and gets really excited in the evening, a cup of California Poppy tea, maybe mixed with a little chamomile and some honey, would be a nice way to help them relax in the evening. It's an analgesic, so it relieves pain. The root is good for tooth pain. You can take the root and just apply it, cut it up, and apply it directly to where you are hurting. The tincture is
Antimicrobial.
and can be used as a wash on cuts and scrapes. Both the tea and the tincture can be used for mild pain and anxiety. Food-wise, you can take the seeds, the California poppy seeds, and grind them up into a meal and combine them with honey and make little cakes.
Harvesting the California poppy seeds might be a little more tricky than some other things because it takes them a little while to ripen, and when they ripen, the pods pop. I mean, they put the pop in poppy. They shoot the seeds out. So what I was doing to collect seeds, not for eating, but for just more poppies to plant all over because they're cheerful looking.
Very pretty.
They're yellow, and it's an annual, so it blooms a long time. It's an early bloomer for an annual. Well, reasonably early anyway. Bright, cheerful yellow or orange. To harvest them, I was taking a kind of a brown paper bag and then just kind of put it over most of the plant and then just bang on it until it pops and shoots the seeds in. And that way I didn't lose a whole lot on the ground.
Next time we'll talk about immune system boosters and give you the bonus herb.
Bonus herb.
We'll see you then.
What is a nervine? Nervine, Berlin? Oh, it's this town in California. You got a lot of nervine.
We're going to do this over. We're not going to post this part. Sorry. I have an editor and I know how to use it.
The gag reel.
Yeah, right.
Click subscribe and live Halfling Ever After.